Hey guys, this is AB and welcome back to AB Tech Tips. And in this video, I will be trying to guide you guys through what motherboard you should choose. And this just ignited my mind because I see so many of you people making the wrong choices when it comes to choosing a motherboard. I see people having a Ryzen 9 3900X paired with the Gigabyte Gaming X motherboard or the MSI MPG X570 Gaming Edge Wi-Fi motherboard or any of the lower end X570 motherboard from MSI for now until at least the Unify comes out. And it's just, in my honest opinion, just stupid because the thermal performance on these motherboards suck. The MSI board reached almost 100 degrees and that's just unacceptable. And if you are planning to overclock it, which you really should consider if you're getting something on the level of a 3900X or a 3800X or a 3700X, because that is what those processors are built for, pure raw performance. So you really shouldn't be trying to save those extra few $1,000 and get the budget option of a motherboard. You really should not be ignoring the motherboard and keeping that as your last priority. And by saying that, I am going to let you guys know what my choice of motherboard should be if you are considering the AMD 3000 series of CPUs. For 3600, 3600X or the 3500, I think you should be fine with the B450 chipset. The MSI Tomahawk Max or Asus B450 e-gaming motherboard should be plenty for you guys. That being said, MSI's offerings are great value for the money. So you might want to be inclined towards MSI, but be wary, their customer service does suck. That being said, even the 3700X should be easy to handle for these B450 motherboards, and especially since B550 motherboards are rumored to be right around the corner, you might want to hold out for those too. Moving on, for the 3900X or the 3950X, which has been indefinitely delayed thus far, you should be looking at least a good X470 motherboard if you're not going to be utilizing the Gen 4 SSD feature, or at least the Asus TUF X570 motherboard. It's at 17K, so there is not much of a price difference between the Gaming X, the MSI's offerings, and Asus's X570 TUF gaming motherboard. So don't save your money. Save your money elsewhere. Maybe get a cheaper AIO, get a 240mm instead of 280. Do that. Do not skimp out on your motherboard. That being said, how do you know what motherboard is going to be good for you guys? And that is a huge topic, and I'll give you a gist of it. You should consider the VRM quality, the number of phases, and just how the thermal performance of your motherboard is and how good it's going to handle your CPU. And is overclocking going to be a factor for you guys? That being said, let's talk about VRMs first. I mean, talking about VRMs, it is obviously a huge topic. So I might not be able to cover everything, and I do apologize. So on every motherboard, there exists a circuit near the CPU socket, and it's called a VRM, or it stands for the voltage regulator module. It is the VRM's job to make the power from the power supply usable for the CPU. Basically, it just reduces the voltage, so to speak. If not for the VRM, your CPU should not work and probably would not either. A VRM is composed of separate power phases, and your baseline power phase is composed of two transistors, a choke and a capacitor. The chokes on modern motherboards usually appear as like small rectangular things right next to the capacitors, and the capacitors are those small cylindrical objects next to the choke. There are two separate groups of power phases in the VRM, one used for CPU cores and the other used by other parts of the CPU like the integrated GPU, and there's also the part where it is usually stated as 8 plus 2 phase or a 12 plus 2 phase or a 12 plus 4 phase VRM solution. So whatever is before the plus is mainly utilized by the CPU, and whatever is after the plus is used by other components such as the RAM or the PCIe slots, etc. So the gist of the matter is, as the number of power phases increases, the amount of time a given power phase is working decreases. So this basically means that the more number of phases you have, the less that a single phase has to work among all of these phases, thus reducing the overall temperatures of the VRM. But this might not always be a great solution because the quality of the VRM components also make a huge difference. So you could have a 8 plus 2 phase or a 12 plus 2 phase or even a 12 plus 4 phase design, but if your components or the basic materials that make up the VRM are not of a significantly good quality, it might not perform as good as even a 4 plus 2 design for the same VRM. So if we assume that the same components are used, the more phases you add, the cooler each phase runs, the more power the VRM can put out and more stable your CPU's voltages get. Lastly, talking about all the VRM and stuff, there is something really deceptive going on. A fairly common trend used by major companies like MSI, ASUS, any company that comes to your mind. They do what is known as doubling the amount of components used in each power phase without actually doubling the number of power phases. And if you really don't know better, you would just assume that you can count the number of chokes to count the number of power phases. In addition, motherboard manufacturers often use this design while also claiming a higher phase count. The thing is, the actual number of phases aren't increased at all. The quality of the phases, however, is still increased, greatly improving the VRM's power output as well as operating temperature. This practice is more or less misleading, but it does still help. But what is worse than this is motherboard manufacturers occasionally go beyond marketing doubled component phases as more phases by not even doubling all of the components while still claiming a higher phase count. So just look through the reviews, look through actually hardware overclocking's review on motherboards, Gamers Nexus's videos. I mean, they do in-depth videos about how you should expect the motherboard to be working, and also the reviews on the motherboards by people like Hardware Unboxed or so many other people. So do make an informed decision. I'm not really saying I'm talking only about the X570 chipset, even if it's a B450 or the B550 that's going to come out, or it's on the Intel platform of things. Just be mindful of everything. After talking about the VRM, I would just like to say one thing before you start off anything at all. That is, you should choose the features that you really need. I mean, you could obviously go for an X570 motherboard, but if you're not going to be using the PCIe Gen 4, you could just go for a higher end X470 motherboard instead. You're going to get decent enough phases that are going to be able to handle most of your processors with ease. For example, the Crosshair 7 is going to be of better value than the Asus Prime from the current edition of X570 boards. So do keep those stuff in mind. Don't overpay for some features that you're really not going to be utilizing. And that being said, I would just like to segue into this small part where I would like to market myself, and I'm just going to let you guys know that if you are looking to build a PC, I am going to build the PC for you guys. As long as you take care of the prices of the components, I will choose the components, I will refer back to you, I'll make sure you're happy with the components. And if you're residing in Bangalore, I will personally deliver it to you guys free of cost. And if you're residing anywhere outside of Bangalore, I will get it shipped to you guys. And this is all going to be completely genuine. I'm going to be ordering components from Amazon, MD Computers, Prime ABGB, so you are going to be getting the bill with the GST. I'm not going to go into the grey market and buy components and then just fit a fake bill and then put it onto your heads. That being said, if you like the videos, if you like the content, please do leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, guys. Thank you, feel great joy, and have a great day, guys. See you in the next video.